The Supreme Court has waded into a subtle wrinkle in a law that decides when you can take a foreign government to court here in the United States. Under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, a country generally can't claim immunity when the law itself lists clear exceptions and when the papers are served properly. The question before the justices was whether you also had to prove some extra connection or minimum contacts as a separate step. Nine Robes uses non-partisan, everyday language to focus on the facts of what the Supreme Court is saying. Here, you'll find clear, concise summaries of every Supreme Court opinion, stripped of legalese and clickbait headlines. Each post breaks down the facts, explains the court's reasoning, and highlights the crucial details that often go unnoticed. It's not just about what the court decided. It's about why those decisions matter, to give you a deeper understanding of the cases that define our nation's legal landscape. These summaries are generated by AI. Be careful and consult reputable sources when in doubt. In a unanimous opinion, the court said no. Once an exception in the law applies and service of process is done right, courts don't get to add another hurdle. The decision removes the extra test the Ninth Circuit had imposed and sends the case back for proceedings under the straightforward rule Congress wrote. In January 2005, Devas Multimedia Private Limited, an Indian incorporated company, entered into a satellite leasing agreement with Antrix Corporation Limited, the commercial arm of India's Department of Space, to obtain capacity on 2 new S-band satellites. When the government of India later reallocated that spectrum for its own use, Antrix invoked a force majeure clause and terminated the contract. Devas initiated arbitration in India. The panel unanimously found that Antrix had wrongfully repudiated the agreement and awarded Devas $562.5 million plus interest. After obtaining enforcement in France and the United Kingdom, Devas sought confirmation of the award in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act's arbitration exception. The district court confirmed the award and entered a $1.29 billion judgment. A Ninth Circuit panel reversed, ruling that Antrix lacked sufficient connections to the United States. Devas petitioned the Supreme Court to resolve whether the FSIA requires such connections for jurisdiction. Justice Alito, writing for a unanimous court, held that the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act grants personal jurisdiction over a foreign state whenever an immunity exception applies and service of process has been accomplished, without any additional due process or minimum contacts inquiry. The court reasoned that the law imposes just 2 prerequisites: 1, an applicable exception to sovereign immunity, and 2, proper service, and then mandates jurisdiction by the unambiguous shall exist language. Although the immunity exceptions themselves require certain connections to the United States, there is no textual basis to read the law as requiring a separate contacts test. To do so would undermine the FSIA's comprehensive framework linking immunity waivers and jurisdictional grants. Legislative history confirms that Congress viewed the exceptions as meeting due process norms. The court reversed and remanded. The Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act created a clear system for determining when foreign governments can be sued in American courts. It replaced the previous case-by-case diplomatic determinations with specific exceptions to immunity, such as commercial activity, tort, property seizure, and arbitration, and gave federal courts jurisdiction when these exceptions apply and proper service is made. The Supreme Court clarified that while traditional personal jurisdiction rules require showing minimum contacts with the United States, the FSIA doesn't add this as a separate requirement. Instead, the immunity exceptions themselves already define what connections to the U.S. are necessary. The court found that adding an extra judge-made contacts test would disrupt the carefully designed system Congress created. This decision respects both the law's goal of providing clear standards and the principle of international courtesy that underlies sovereign immunity. By letting the statutory exceptions themselves define when jurisdiction exists, the court preserved the straightforward framework Congress intended. Find us online at 9robes.ai. That's the number, 9robes.ai. Like and share this podcast with friends that like to be informed. 9 Robes provides AI summaries of U.S. Supreme Court cases. AI makes mistakes. People make mistakes too. We genuinely do our best to provide you with the most accurate summaries, but our best sometimes includes errors.